Good morning, math students. We're back and we're going to solve multi-step equations involving distributive property. And of course, you know that distributive property is those sets of parentheses that we have to distribute a coefficient to. So let's start with this first one. Now, two ways you're going to see this. Either one, you have one set of distributive properties, or you have one on both sides. And really, it's the same thing either way. You're still doing the same steps. So first things first, we need to distribute this coefficient, whether you want to use the area model or you want to use these arches to connect them, rainbows in some people's minds, doesn't matter. Do whatever works best for you. And what you do is you take the coefficient and you multiply it by each term inside of the parentheses. So negative 3 times 1 is negative 3, and then negative 3 times 6r is negative 18r. I almost slipped up there for a second. Negative 18r equals, well, there was no set of parentheses, no distributive property, so we can just drop this one down. Okay, next, we have a variable on both sides. So we need to move the smaller one if possible. But before we do that, let's help ourselves out and let's put in this invisible 1 coefficient just to remind ourselves that that is a negative 1. So negative 18, negative 1, smallest variable is going to be the negative 18 because that would be the colder temperature, negative 18 versus negative 1. So I'm going to add 18r to both sides. The 18s, positive and negative, cancel each other out, and we're left with negative 3 equals 14 plus 17r, because negative 1 plus 18 is 17. Now we're going to get rid of this constant term because we want the variable by itself, of course. So since that's positive 14, we subtract 14. And the 14s, of course, cancel, and we're left with negative 3 minus 14, which is negative 17, equals 17r. Now the 17 is joined to the r by multiplication, so we need to undo our multiplication. So we're going to have to divide by 17. So what is left is we have negative 1 on the left-hand side, because that is negative 17 divided by 17. And r is left on the right-hand side. So our answer is r equals negative 1. All right, so let's go with the other. Now, in this case, we have two sets of distributive property. So we're going to have to distribute the negative 12 to both terms in the left-hand side, and then the negative 9 to both terms in the right-hand side. So negative 12 times x is negative 12x. Negative 12 times negative 12 is a positive 144 equals negative 9 times 1 is negative 9. And negative 9, darn it, did it again. Negative 9 times 7x is negative 63x. So distributive property gone. No like terms combined. Let's look at those variables. I have a negative 12 and a negative 63. Negative 63 would be colder temperature-wise, so that would be the smaller one. So let's eliminate that one. And the reason why is because just like in the previous problem, when we eliminated the smaller coefficient on a variable, it ended up giving us a positive number, and that was one less thing to worry about. So instead of minus 63, we're going to do the opposite, plus 63. And of course, property of equality, do it to both sides. Positive and negative 63 cancel out, as we would hope. And here we're going to end up with negative 12 plus 63, which is a 51x. And then we didn't do anything to the 144, so plus 144 equals negative 9. Now we only have the one variable, so that's good. So we need to eliminate this constant term, or that number by itself. So do the opposite, subtract 144 on both sides. So 51x equals negative 9 minus 144 is negative 153. So finally, 51x is 51 times x. Do the opposite, divide. 51s are gone. Divide on the other side by 51. And finally, we are left with x equals negative 3. So anyway, guys, pay attention to the steps. Follow along if you need to watch the video while you're doing your homework so that you can pattern the steps one at a time. That's perfectly fine. But good luck. I hope you find success, and I'll be back with another video later this week.